Okay, this video is on dilations, and a dilation just means to take an object and make it larger or smaller. And there's a couple of different ways to do dilations. One, you do using a set of XY axes, an object drawn on a set of XY axes, and the other is without the axes, and we're going to do that one here. And you'll see in your notes you have a triangle here kind of towards the middle of your page, triangle ABC, and you've got this little point here. This point here is called the dilation point. I'll write that on here. So when you want to take an object like this triangle and you want to dilate it, you need a dilation point, which I've got right here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to draw lines from my dilation point that go through each one of the vertices of my figure. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw lines through from my dilation point through each one of my vertices. Alright, so after I have my lines drawn here, I've got three vertices, so I'm just going to have three lines. Now I want to know, well, how much bigger or maybe smaller do I want to make my pre-image? And in this case, I want to take my pre-image and I want to dilate it by a factor of 3. That is, I want to create another triangle that is essentially going to be the same shape as my original triangle, but it's going to be 3 times bigger. So what I do then is I'm going to measure the distance from my dilation point to each of my 3 points here, A, B, and C, and then I'm going to multiply that distance times 3 to get my new coordinates, A prime, B prime, and C prime. So if you take your ruler and if you use the centimeters side of it, and if you measure the distance from your dilation point to point A, then you'll find that that distance is about 3 centimeters. And so since I want my new triangle, my image, to be 3 times as large, then I want a distance that's 3 times longer than this 3 centimeters, which means 9 centimeters. So I want to measure out 9 centimeters along this line right here. So put your ruler down. Measure out 9 centimeters from here to here. So on my line, that's going to be about this point right here. And that's my A prime point. Actually, I'm going to do that in a different color. Do that in red. So there's A prime. So this distance here is 3 centimeters, and this distance here on your paper should be 9 centimeters. All right, let's do the same thing with B and C. This distance here from my dilation point to point B, on your paper that should be approximately 5 centimeters. So you multiply that times 3 and get 15. So you want to measure off 15 centimeters from the dilation point, and that's going to be your point B prime. So let's see. 15 on mine, let's see, I've got to get up to... Mine is going to be this point up here. So let's see, that's going to be, here's my B prime point. Do that in red. Here's my B prime point. And let's see, I want to do the same thing now with point C. And again, if you'll measure that on your paper using your ruler, you'll find that this distance here on your triangle, the distance from the dilation point to point C, is about 2.5 centimeters. So let's see, okay, the others were kind of easy. Those were integer numbers. Now I got to multiply 2.5 times 3. Let's see, 2.5 times 3, if I convert that to a improper fraction, let's see, that's going to be 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So that's 5 halves times 3. And let's see, that's going to be, let me write this as 5 halves times 3 over 1. So that gives me 15 over 2, which is 7.5 centimeters. So I want to measure out 7.5 centimeters from my dilation point. And let's see, on mine, it's going to be about right here. So that's going to be my point C prime. All right, so again, this distance here, that's going to be 7.5 centimeters. And the distance from here to here was 15 centimeters. Now I just need to connect up my 3 vertices, A prime, B prime, and C prime. So let's see. And now I have just dilated my pre-image into an image that is 3 times as large as my pre-image.